Rahim Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. So just to bring us up to speed again, we are discussing, the broader subject we're discussing is najasat, the contamination of water, right, for wudu purposes, etc. The last thing we discussed was the leftover water of different animals. Some of them are very relevant to us today because a lot of us have dogs, a lot of us have cats, and we live on the farm also. And in fact, the next one here, chickens, some people even have chickens by the house. So the broad overarching principle in all of these masail is as follows, that if the animal is from amongst those animals which is fresh, is haram to consume, then if it drank from water, it naturally follows that its tongue went into the water, and its tongue obviously has the saliva, and because the saliva is born from the flesh, and the flesh is haram, then it would mean that that water is contaminated, that if it is maya qalil. And if the animal that drank from the water is from amongst those animals who it is halal to consume the flesh, so because it comes from the default ruling, we're not speaking about pak and napak, we're speaking about halal and haram. Remember, pak, napak flesh, that's different. By shedding the blood, all flesh become pak. We discuss this in detail. Even if you slaughter a lion, even if you slaughter a cheetah, that flesh becomes pak. So if you slaughter a lion and you take a piece of flesh and you hang it around your neck, it will be pak. So that's a different thing. Here we're speaking about halal and haram. So we're saying that uh, if the animal is from those animals that prey on other animals, then the flesh is haram, then the sur, the leftover of that would be haram. Sorry, najis, right? Then we discuss about the cat. Now, understanding this principle, if you look at the cat, a cat is a small predatory animal. It preys on little birds, lizards, insects, rats, mice, etc. So technically speaking, that leftover also supposed to be najis. But because of another important principle that we learn, which is called al-haraj, because of the difficulty, I told you, the Arabs were very fond of cats. So if a cat drank from the water, etc., or ate from, we will say there, the water doesn't become completely najis, but it's makruh to use it, right? So if you've got other water, and like into our day and age now, we have a lot of water from the taps, and the chances of the water getting contaminated is very very minimal. So you shouldn't be using that water. Yes, maybe if you went camping and you got no other water, there's the only water you have, etc., etc. Right? So we discussed that. In another discussion we discussed here also is there could be two reasons why the cat's leftover water or rather saliva is reprehensible. One is because it is a predatory animal. Predatory, and if this is the reason, then we say it is makruh tahrimi, closer to haram. But if we say that the reprehensibility is because it is not so careful, it is On. Are we on? Right. So the cat is a predatory animal. So technically speaking, it's leftover also supposed to be haram, but based upon necessity, based upon necessity, it has been allowed. And I told you, if you look at if you say that the detestability is because it's a predatory animal, the flesh is haram, there's makruh tahrimi. We say just because it is lack of caution with regards to poking those in all type of dirt, etc. Then we say it is makruh tanzihi. So the next masala we're discussing, if the cat ate a rat and immediately after that it went and it drank water, so it will still have some traces of najasat on it. Like I told you, from this you learn another masala. If you saw somebody consuming something haram, a person was consuming swine, or a person was drinking alcohol, or he was doing anything funny with his mouth, he was putting some najasat in his mouth, and from there he went to drink water immediately, then obviously stands to reason that najasat has transferred into the water, so it will not be permissible. Other than that, a human being's saliva is pure, unless there's proof to say that there's some najasat on it, right? So ولو أكلت الفأرة ثم شربت على فوره الماء يتنجس إلا إذا مكثت ساعة. So normally the cat, is very particular about preening itself. So obviously would smack his lips, he would lick his lips, and he would remove all the traces of najasat. So once the traces of najasat are removed, then we'll say now if we drink water, it is tahir, right? لِغَسْلِ فَمِهَا بِالْأُبْيَا, because it would have washed its mouth with his saliva. Then the next one, وَالْإِسْتِثْنَاءُ عَلَى مَذْهَبِ أبي حنيفة. The istinai surah is just where we're saying that if it waited a few minutes, that's what we're referring to. The exception to the rule, right? على مذهب أبي حنيفة as according to Imam Hanifa, because according to Imam Hanifa, when you're removing najasat, you don't have to pour water and wash it. Anyway, you remove the najasat. And from there, we also learn the masla of dry cleaning and all that type of thing. If some najasat came on something, whichever way you use, even like a liquid, a chemical, and it chemically, physically removes all that najasat, there's no traces of that najasat, then we say it is park, right? That's why also this Masa come in best is if you got some najasat on your fingers, you lick it off to such an extent that there's no najasat left, it will be park also, right? So that shows you that the main thing is izarat on najasa. Then the next part is saying, according to Imam Yusuf, according to this ibarat, that he said when you got najasat, you have to pour water to remove it. You have to pour water to remove it. But here, how come he's saying it's permissible? We say here he moves away from his normal principle of saying there must be sabr. And out of necessity, say, look, there's necessity that the cat is all the time. Maybe this is not so relevant to us, but in previous times when houses were not solid, you'd have like wooden houses or bamboo houses or mud houses. So you'd have a lot of insects and reptiles and lizards and stuff, all that stuff coming into the house. So the cat is every time it is eating a rat, is eating a mice. So that means you'll have to go take the cat and wash the cat's mouth in order for it to become park. So we say no, based upon necessity, we'll say that if it cleans his mouth, then it will be permissible, right? Okay, read the next ibarat. Yeah. So remember we told you that this is like how the cat was the exception to the rule. Technically speaking, the cat's leftover supposed to be najis. Now, if you look at a chicken, normally that flesh is halal, or not normally, but the flesh is halal, right? So if a chicken drank from water, then the leftover water is supposed to be park, right? That is the default ruling. But this is similar to the previous masla. It is an exception to the rule, but in the opposite way. وَالسُّعْرُ الدَّجَاجَةِ الْمُخَلَّةِ. Mukhallat here means, yeah, the word khalla yukhali means to free something. That you say khallini, somebody's troubling you. Say khallini, leave me, man. Right? Khallini. Or so if you want to fight with that guy, somebody's coming, say khalli baini wa bainahu. Like open a road between me and this person. Like how the people are saying in Yemen, khalli bainana wa baina Gaza. Open the road between us and Gaza. Let us go and fight there. So to open up, to release something, right? So here is speaking about, in simple words, what we call as free ranging. What? Free range. So the leftover of the chicken So al-mukhallati is the sifat of the jaja. So the leftover of the free riding chicken, makruhun, it is makruh. Why is it makruh? لأنها تخالط النجاسة. Generally, the chicken, what he will do, he walks in the yard, he pecks here, he pecks there. If some najasat, maybe there's bigger animals, there's cows, there's sheep, right? So what do you do? They peck in that najasat. So the possibility of it having some najasat on his beak, I mean, qarihi, is very, very great. So remember, al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak. Until you're not certain, you can't say. So if you are certain, like how the previous verse, you certain there's the najasat on the cat's whiskers, then you will consider it najis. So same thing here also. You will not consider um, you will not consider it 100% najis, but there's a great possibility. That's why we say it is makruh. Are you with me? Right? لأنها تخالط نجاسة. Now, interesting مسألة. ولو كانت محبوسة بحيث لا يصل منقارها إلى ما تحت قدميه لا يقرأ لوقوع الأمن من المخالطة. And I don't know if you've seen these new cages in which they keep the chickens. The chicken is in such a way that it's in the cage, his whole body's in the cage, and his head is out, and his head has access to water and drink. It can't turn its head around his body. So they are like, they call them battery chickens, machine chickens. Their job is just to eat and lay eggs. Eat, excrete, lay eggs, eat, excrete. So that's a whole separate topic. How unhealthy are these chickens that only live on hormones and all that type of thing. But anyway, if the so this shows you, it's interesting. When I saw this, I thought this is a new type of zulm that they're doing on the chickens, but you see it existed back then also. So whatever it is, if the chicken is accommodated or is housed in such a manner, walau kanat mahbusatan, it is habasa means it is kept back, it is caged, behaved in such a manner, لا يصل منقارها, that its beak does not reach إلى ما تحت قدميه, to beneath his feet. That means it had no access to najasat. It's big, right? لا يقرأه, it will not be makruh لوقوع الأمن المخالطة because of لوقوع الأمن because of the peace of mind or the safety al-mukhalati, that it not mixed with the najasat. You know what I'm saying? So remember, we told you intrinsically the flesh is clean, it's halal, so it should be parked. But it was for an external reason making makruh. And when that external reason is removed, then it will be considered to be clean, right? Then وَكَذَا سُعْرُ سِبَاءِ الطَّيْرِ. And like that also, the leftover of the predatory of the birds. We say predatory birds. What are predatory birds? Like falcon, hawk, eagle, vulture, all these type of things. Now these also, in the Arab world, these are very, very common. People used to keep them as pets, etc. Right? So we say وَكَذَا سُؤُرُ سِبَاءِ الطَّيْرِ. Like that, the leftover of the predatory birds. Still, you see the clips, there's people in Qatar and all. They have this vultures, they do the sporting and all that hunting and all stuff. So why is it makruh? لأنها تأكل الميتات. It also eats. Now, interesting thing here, before we come to that, that intrinsically, even though the presence of the bird, vulture, hawk, we can't eat that, né? Right? We can't eat it. Its flesh is haram. So if you follow the usul there, because the flesh is haram, the leftover water is supposed to be najis. Are you with me? But the reason why the water is not najis is because that these animals don't have any saliva in their mouth. They don't have any saliva, like how a mammal, etc., have saliva. It will transmit from the tongue and it will go into the water. These animals don't have any saliva. So the default ruling is it's supposed to be fine. But then, like the chicken also, sometimes it pokes its beak into najasat, etc. So based upon that external factor, right? We say for external reasons, it is considered to be najis. Like that here also, we'll say that if a eagle, a hawk, or a falcon drank from some type of water, we also say it is najis, but not because of the transmission of the saliva, but rather because, like how the chicken would have put its beak in najasat, there's a chance similar to that, right? فأشبهت دجاجة المخلات. So it resembles the free-ranging chicken. وعن أبي يوسف أن إذا كان محبوسة يعلم الصاحب أنها لا قدر على منقارها لا يكره ليقول الأمن عن المخالفة. So there's a riwayat on the authority of Abu Yusuf, like I told you, you just Arab people, you see this, they treat some of these birds better than they treat humans. There was a club going around, I know you saw a plane, Qatar Airways had a whole full plane of these birds going to a competition, all sitting in first class seats. You saw that, right? So if that thing is treated like that, right? وأنا أبي يوسف أن إذا كان محبوسة, if it is caged, يعلم صاحبها, that the owner knows for sure that أنها لا قذر على منقارها. Yeah, the interesting thing is what they do with this bird here. They even put like a, what they do? They put like a mask over the face so that it can be like when they take it on a plane and that, so it can be settled. So now you got a mask on his face. Maybe you clean. So they even groom these birds. They groom these birds. They groom it. They cut the nails. They whatever. So now after you groom it, you put a mask on his face so that it must be settled in the plane, right? Like so ostrich mentality. Like you can't see something, then it doesn't affect you. You can't see something, so no matter how much danger is there. So same thing. Maybe these birds, they don't see the plane, they don't see the in a strange vehicle or whatever. So يعلم الصاحب أن لا قدر على منقارها, that he knows for certain there is no dirt, no najasat on his beak. لا يكره, it will be not makruh to drink over. So if there was no other water besides the water which this falcon drank from, he need to make wudu. He was in the desert and he took his bird to hunt, or he took his bird for a competition. He forgot to bring his own water. He's got only the water which his bird drank from. The bird he's competing with, right? And the thing never hunt. It never put his beak in any najasat, whatever, right? Then لا يكره, he can make wudu with it. ليقول الأمن عن المخالطة, because of the existence of ليقول الأمن, because of the existence of satisfaction عن المخالطة, or now give it a nice translation here. I can say that he knows in his heart now that this thing never mixed with najasat. What would be a nice version, right? واستحسن المشايخ هذه الرواية, and our mashayikh, they considered this riwayah to be very good. I mean, fatwa to be given on it. Okay, let's stop there, inshallah. We're going to switch over now to the tafsir. If you don't know portion, right? Faith is more serious. You believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thereafter believe in Rasulullah. And now, if you don't know